Tom was born an unusual child. While everyone else cried, he remained silent. While everyone else broke their toy cars, he fixed them. When he was only 3, it was clear he was going to grow up to be a real man. In kindergarten, girls couldn't keep away from him, and the teachers loved him. They said there was never any trouble when Tom was around. Before starting school, Tom became a hero in the town. He even appeared on television. A dog attacked a girl in their yard. Whether she was teasing the dog or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is that the dog was of considerable size and the girl was scared. This provoked more aggression from the dog. Unfortunately, only this girl, Tom, and another slightly younger girl were in the yard. Tom didn't lose his head. He grabbed his toy car and went into battle. He saved the girl, but he himself was hurt. Adults came running when they heard the commotion. The girl suffered only 2 minor bites and some fright, but Tom had to have stitches in both hands. In the hospital, his mother cried, "What kind of child do I have? Everyone else runs away, but you jump in. What if the dog had killed you?" Tom genuinely didn't understand his mother. But Mom, she was a girl, and there were no adults around and no other boys either. Who else was going to defend her? His mother smiled through her tears and stroked his hair. The parents of the girl came to thank Tom and his parents. Tom enjoyed his last summer as a free man. Then it was time for school. He was very excited about going to school. He had already decided that he wanted to be a lawyer. His father was very surprised when he heard this. "Son, do you even know what a lawyer does? What his job is?" "Dad, of course I do. They defend criminals for money. But I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to defend only those who are innocent but can't afford a lawyer. I'm going to defend them for free." The mother and father exchanged glances. The father smiled, thinking that with time all these fantasies would pass, and his son would go to work at the factory where his dad was a small but still a boss. On the 1st of September, Tom woke up earlier than everyone else. By the time his parents woke up, Tom was already drinking tea in the kitchen, with a full parade of prepared sandwiches on a plate for his mom and dad. His mother hugged Tom and said, "I don't know what I would do without you. No one else has such independent children." Tom loved his mother very much, but these female embraces embarrassed him, so he deftly dodged his mother's kisses. "Mom, come on, what are you doing? I'm already grown up and you're still with your little kisses." Dad laughed, and Mom said, "Of course you're grown up now. I won't do it anymore." And she also laughed merrily. When they left the house, Tom whispered in his mother's ear, "Mom, why don't you carry flowers down the street, and I'll pick them up at school?" His mother nodded seriously, exchanged glances with her husband, and they barely held back a smile. Tom really enjoyed his first day of school. So much was new and interesting. He never thought there would be so many children in school, and not just some kids from the yard, but those who were already learning. Tom had long since learned to read and write. He taught himself to read, and his mother helped with the written letters. His parents were not worried at all that Tom would have trouble with learning. They were more confident in him than in themselves. Monica was only 16 when she met Roman, and they immediately fell in love at first sight. Roman came from a well-known family in their city, while Monica's parents had always been heavy drinkers. Monica never understood how she didn't end up in an orphanage. Apparently, their neighbors were good people. Instead of calling Child Protective Services when her parents went on yet another bender, they took turns taking care of Monica. So Monica grew up as the daughter of the whole neighborhood. Despite everything, Monica was a true beauty, and Roman fell in love with her the moment he saw her. Since the day they met, he tried not to leave her alone for long. When Monica turned 18, Roman took her to meet his parents and to tell them that they had decided to get married. They filed their application for marriage the day after her birthday. They were not greeted warmly, to say the least. Roman's mother immediately attacked Monica. "What are you thinking? Why are you ruining this boy's life? He's only 20. He needs to study, achieve something in life, and you're making him marry you. You've lived your whole life like a stray dog. Do you want him to live like that too? No wedding? If Roman gets married, it will be to a nice girl from our circle." Monica cried and tried to leave. Roman was in shock from his parents' reaction. He thought his father would support him. After all, his father had grown up in an orphanage. But his father said, "If you marry her, don't count on our help." Roman grabbed a bag, threw in some things, took Monica by the hand, and ran out of the house. He heard his mother shouting after him, "Roman, come to your senses, come back." But he didn't even look back. Monica cried, and he was just full of anger. That day they stayed overnight at Roman's friend's. The next day he rented a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. "That's it, Monica. You take care of the house and I'll look for a job." Monica cleaned up the apartment and prepared food. Roman came in the evening, happy. He found a job, and considering that he had no experience, it turned out to be quite good. Roman insisted that Monica should study. "Monica, I'm a man. I'll work. I took an academic leave for now, and once everything is stable, I'll switch to part-time and finish my studies too. We won't live luxuriously. My salary will be enough to pay for the apartment and to live." Monica was very grateful to him, but decided to find a part-time job anyway. They had to postpone the wedding a little bit. Roman wanted Monica to be in a beautiful white dress and to have guests, but it was just too expensive for them at the moment. 3 months later, Monica realized that she was pregnant. Roman was over the moon with happiness. "Monica, I'll find another job. Our baby will have everything. You'll see, we'll manage." Monica believed him. She always believed him because he was the best. Monica was due to give birth in 2 weeks. She had a difficult pregnancy. Roman was hardly ever home. He worked on his main job and did some taxi driving in the evening and part of the night. Monica had already bought a stroller and all sorts of baby items. They never got married. They agreed to get married after the birth. What was the point of a white wedding dress when they had been together for so long and they were having a daughter? Today, Roman promised to come home early. It was Monica's birthday, and she prepared a salad and got a bottle of wine. It was already dark outside, and Roman still hadn't come. Monica started to worry. Roman always did what he said. He promised to work in a taxi for only 2 or 3 hours and come home right away. Monica looked at the clock. It was 11 p.m. She didn't understand anything. Maybe he got a long order? Monica was even happy about it. Of course, he couldn't refuse because a big order meant good money. Monica didn't even realize that she fell asleep on the couch. She woke up because someone was ringing the doorbell. Monica went to the door and opened it. At the doorstep, Roman's friend was standing. Well, not exactly a friend, they worked together. "Monica, bad news. Roman crashed last night. He's dead." Monica felt a terrible pain in her lower abdomen and lost consciousness. She woke up several times afterwards. She heard doctors and a crying child. Then she saw Roman's mother's face. She was screaming. She was screaming that she killed their son. Monica was discharged after 2 weeks. They buried Roman without her. His mother screamed at her, telling her not to come near their son's grave or their home. No one met Monica. She walked home with her baby carriage. She entered her apartment and sat on the couch, holding her daughter. Then she wiped away her tears. She needed to do something to feed her baby, to figure out what to do next. She knew she couldn't afford the rent and her baby. She didn't know what to do. She counted the money in the closet. It would last for 2 months. And that was if she didn't buy anything, only pay for the apartment. She had no milk for her baby. She walked around the city with her stroller. Yesterday, the landlady came over and said that she understood, but she also needed the money. Therefore, Monica and her baby shouldn't be in the apartment in a week. Monica made a decision. She went to Roman's parents. After all, Katie was their granddaughter. She called them, and Roman's mother opened the door. "What do you want?" she asked, and didn't let Monica inside. "I can't do it. I can't handle it. Katie is Roman's daughter. Please help me or take her. I can't support her," Monica said. "You can't? What did you think before? You're a mistake. You brought my son to the grave and gave birth to this child. Leave now. Never come back. Forget our address, and don't you dare give us that child." The woman slammed the door in Monica's face. Monica cried. She didn't know what to do. Tomorrow was Sunday, and she needed to leave the apartment. She didn't sleep all night. She thought, cried, thought again. But nothing, no thoughts. And then she made a decision. In the morning, when many people were already walking on the street, it was a holiday. She got ready, kissed her daughter, put her in the stroller, and placed the letter she had been writing all night in the carriage. The weather wasn't good, and it was raining. Monica went to the park. Despite the bad weather, there were many people walking there. Monica walked around the park. She waited for the moment when no one was looking at her. She placed the stroller under a bush so the rain wouldn't get to her baby and ran away. She was choking on her tears, but she hoped that someone would find her little caddy quickly. Tom loved the rain very much, and even more, he loved to walk in the rain. It was so cool. There were few people on the street, silence, only the sound of drops, and how beautiful it was immediately. Everything was washed clean. It was just impossible to take your eyes off it. And Tom's mom and dad knew that he would trade any new toy for a walk in the rain. He was an independent boy, so they always let him go outside calmly. His parents were 100% sure that if Tom said he would be in the courtyard, he would be in the courtyard. If he said he would be back in an hour, he would be back in an hour. Today, Tom decided to go to the park. It was so mysterious in the rain there. His mom was going to bake Tom's favorite pie, and he decided not to wait and go for a walk. Just when the smell of the pie began to spread throughout the house, Tom lost all his seriousness. And he couldn't allow it. He walked along the central path of the park. He kept meeting people. Tom decided to wander along the small paths. As he thought, there were many fewer people there. He was walking thoughtfully when he heard some whimpering. Tom thought it was probably a small puppy that was freezing in the rain. He started looking around. Behind the bush next to the bench, he noticed something strange. He turned behind the bush, and there was a stroller. Tom looked inside. A baby was crying. The boy looked around. There was an envelope next to the baby's head. Tom adjusted the baby's pacifier and began to read. After reading the first few lines, he folded the paper into the envelope. He took hold of the stroller handle and hurried home. He opened the stroller and rolled it into the house. "Mom, I need your help here." His mother came out of the kitchen, saw the stroller, and grabbed her heart. "Tom, what is this? Where did you get this?" The baby's parents are probably looking for him. His father also came out, staring. "Mom, I found this baby in the park. His parents left him there with a note. Could you feed him or something? Who knows how much the stroller costs there? And then we need to report it somewhere." "Well, you probably know where." Tom spoke and unzipped the cover. What were they standing there for? "We need to feed the little one." He took out the envelope and handed it to his father. He looked at his mother. The woman realized what was happening, took the baby in her arms. There were bottles and even dry formula in the stroller. The mother fussed over the baby, swaddling her and feeding her. Meanwhile, the father opened the letter. "I'm sorry, my little daughter, my caddy. Please forgive me, people. But I can't cope. I'm only 19 years old. My husband died, his relatives chased me away, and I was evicted from my rented apartment. I'm very ashamed and in pain, so I couldn't bring myself to leave the child in an orphanage. Please forgive me. I'm a bad mother. My daughter will bring happiness to someone, but I'll only bring her misery." The letter went on with all the details. When the baby was born, what she was being fed, and which vaccinations she had already received. Tom's parents exchanged a glance. His father said, "Yes, it's a difficult situation." Tom could feel how bad things were for the woman who had written those lines. The little girl was sleeping peacefully in his mother's arms. "Mom, Dad, can we take her in? She's so pretty, so beautiful. We have enough space, and I'll help out." "Son, it's not that simple. She's not a kitten that you find and take home. She's a human being. We need documents and permission. It's so complicated that it's practically impossible." Tom pouted in disappointment. Then he walked over to the baby. "Caddy, don't be afraid. I'll come to see you. And when you grow up, I'll marry you. Then no one will hurt you or abandon you." His mother and father exchanged a glance. The woman wiped away a tear, and the father called the police. While they waited for the police, they wrote their own paperwork. Eventually, the police called the Child Welfare Service. They arrived to take Caddy away in the late evening. The woman read the letter and shook her head. The driver took the stroller, and she dressed the baby. The mother couldn't help herself. "Where is she going now?" "To the children's hospital first. They'll check her over and treat her if necessary. Then to a daycare center. and finally to an orphanage. Tom walked up to the woman. "Can I visit her?" The woman smiled. "Well, if you come with her mother, they might let you." Caddy was taken away, and Tom felt so empty and lonely. He locked himself in his room, deeply worried about Caddy. After 2 days, Tom couldn't take it anymore. He took out his piggy bank, grabbed some money, bought a rattle for babies at the store, and went to the hospital. The nurse at the reception immediately stopped him. "You can't be here without adults, kid." Tom was ready to resist, but the nurse didn't know it was him. "I understand." "That's right. But tell me, if parents are at work and I can come and visit the girl, bring her a rattle, talk to her, is that bad? I found her, so she's almost like a sister to me. You don't have enough time, and there are many children, and I could help." As Tom spoke very maturely, the nurse's eyebrows rose, and she didn't immediately know what to say. The doctor, who had approached them at the beginning of their conversation, came to her rescue. He was smiling, and he clearly liked this serious boy. "Kid, do you know that young children quickly get used to things? If you come to see her, she'll get used to you, and then you'll forget about her, and she'll cry." Tom turned to the doctor and frowned. "You're talking nonsense. You can't just forget about a person. I won't abandon her. And when she grows up, I'll marry her." The nurse laughed. The doctor smiled even wider. "Well, in that case, let's go. I'll show you where she is." The doctor took Tom to the ward. He wanted to show him where the girl was, but Tom recognized her immediately. He approached her, adjusted her blanket efficiently, and looked at the water bottle. "Has she been given fresh water recently?" The doctor was surprised. They were supposed to change it in the morning. "Do you know how to take care of babies?" "Not yet. But I read a lot about it tonight, and I'll learn for sure." Tom bombarded the nurse and the doctor with questions. Only when he was convinced that Caddy was all right, he headed home. "Can I come tomorrow?" The doctor smiled. "Sure, I'll tell the nurses to let you in." Tom came to the hospital every day. Everyone knew him, greeted him, and even sought his advice. It was as if Caddy recognized him. One day a doctor approached him. "Well, your Caddy is being transferred to an orphanage tomorrow." Tears welled up in Tom's eyes. "Does that mean I won't be able to visit her anymore?" The doctor looked at the boy attentively. "The orphanage is on the other side of town. How will you get there?" Tom took out a piece of paper. In childish handwriting, there was a route drawn out, including which bus to take and the schedule for all the suitable transportation. "Well, buddy, I see you take everything seriously. Let's do this. I'll talk to the director. But you have to promise me that you'll only go on weekends when there are no school activities." Tom thought about it. Of course, this was not what he wanted, but it was better than nothing. He agreed, shook the doctor's hand, and said, "I promise." The doctor smiled again, shook Tom's hand, and wished him good luck. That day, Tom stayed longer with Caddy. He was telling her something, and she was nodding in response. The nurses wiped away their tears as they watched them. It was harder for Tom in the orphanage. There were many children, and they all wanted attention. But Tom held on. When his parents found out that he visited Caddy regularly, they easily increased his pocket money for the bus and even bought him a simple mobile phone so that he could always call home. Tom's mother even sometimes sent Caddy some clothes or toys. When Caddy grew a little older, Tom was very afraid that someone would adopt her. And one day it happened. He came, but Caddy was not there. He rushed to find out what had happened, but was told that she had been adopted. At that time, Caddy was 5 and Tom was 12. Tom was always reserved, but he couldn't hold back his tears. He became sad. He stopped smiling. Of course, he understood that it would be better for Caddy to be in a family. And after a month, the phone rang. The director of the orphanage called. She asked to come to the orphanage to talk to Tom's parents. His mother, unaware that Caddy had been adopted, thought Tom had done something wrong. When they arrived at the orphanage, the director took them to her office. "I wanted to talk to you. You know your son goes to see Caddy. He has been taking care of her since birth?" "Yes, of course, we know. He found her, and since then he has felt that he should protect Caddy. The thing is, I'm confused. She's a good girl, obedient, smart, and many families would adopt her. One of the families was just perfect. We gave the girl to them, but they brought her back after a month. She wouldn't sleep or eat, only cried and begged to go back to the orphanage to Tom. And then she even ran away. No persuasions, no toys help. In all honesty, I need to forbid Tom from coming here, otherwise we will never be able to find a place for Caddy. That's why I called you. You need to talk to your son and make sure he doesn't come here anymore. Caddy is young, she'll forget about him. Tom's parents looked at each other. Their son wouldn't be able to handle this. He was fully convinced that he was responsible for Caddy's fate. Then the father said, "Listen, we don't have mansions. Our salaries are average. But we're not alcoholics. We're normal people. Maybe they'll let us adopt Caddy?" The director thought about it. She saw what a responsible boy Tom was. She saw how serious he was. She knew he was doing well in school and attending sports classes. And she knew for sure that Tom would never hurt Caddy. "If you're sure about this, then I will certainly help you. I think Caddy will be better off with you." Mom and Ad smiled. They had been thinking about this for a long time, but they knew their chances were slim. They decided not to tell Tom anything about the adoption, but they would tell him that Caddy had returned. They arrived home. Tom was sitting in his room by the window. "Tom, why are you home?" Tom turned around. "So where should I be?" he asked. "Did you miss Caddy?" His father asked with a wink to his mother. "They adopted Caddy," Tom's father continued. Tom turned back to the window, thinking his father was joking. But he wasn't. Half an hour later, Tom was at the orphanage. As he walked down the corridor, a little girl ran towards him, arms open and screaming, "Tom, my Tom!" From that day on, Tom came alive. He visited Caddy for half an hour after school and spent practically every weekend with her. One day, as he was getting ready for school, his mother came into the room. "Tom, I called your teacher and told her you wouldn't be in today," she said. "We need you to come with us." Tom was surprised. What was the mystery about? They got in the car and drove to the orphanage. Tom looked at his parents. "Is something wrong with Caddy?" he asked. "Don't worry, everything's fine with her," his father replied. They went inside and immediately went to the director's office. The woman greeted them with a smile. "Come with me," she said. They walked through the halls and arrived at the group where Caddy lived. It was her birthday today. Tom had already bought her a small doll, but it was left at home in his backpack. He didn't understand anything. The director peeked into the group, and a minute later, the nanny came out with Caddy. The girls saw Tom and immediately went to him. She hugged him and stood there like that. "Well, Caddy, get ready. You'll be going home." And then Tom began to understand what was happening. He looked at his mother, then at his father. They were smiling. Tom rushed to hug them. When they all arrived home, Caddy was very shy. She kept approaching her mother and father, asking, "Will I always live here? And Tom too?" They answered affirmatively. She hugged everyone and calmed down for 5 minutes. Before bed, she approached her mother and said, "I will be good, don't send me back." Mom burst into tears, hugging Caddy. Dad also turned away suspiciously. Time passed. Caddy didn't deceive them. She really became a good daughter. Everyone in the family didn't understand how they lived without her before. Caddy not only helped, she was also very kind and affectionate. Caddy was supposed to turn 12 when Tom was drafted into the army. He knew that Caddy was in good hands. Neither Mom nor Dad made any distinctions between their adopted daughter and their biological son. Tom made Caddy promise that she would study well. Caddy cried and promised. Tom ended up on a ship. He liked it. After the army, he came home for a couple of weeks and then returned to his unit on a contract. Caddy talked to him less and less. They saw each other almost once a year, and Tom was constantly at sea. Today is Caddy's holiday. She's 18. Dad and Mom were walking around with mysterious faces in the morning. Caddy knew how to be a suck-up, and Dad always gave in and told her all the secrets. But today Dad was a stone. Caddy was just exhausted, but Dad kept saying it was just her imagination. In the evening, they planned to go to a cafe. Caddy insisted that she didn't want anyone else to come besides them. Mom said they needed to invite friends, but Caddy stuck to her decision. She wanted to spend the day with her family. At 6 o'clock, they went to the cafe. They decided to walk there. The cafe was nearby, and the weather was beautiful. Caddy was simply magnificent. Mom didn't even realize when she became so mature and beautiful, but she was proud of her like her own daughter. In the cafe, Everyone turned to look when Caddy sat down at the table. She had light hair, which she had styled up high, black thin eyebrows and eyes as black as coal. They chatted happily, reminiscing about some childhood stories when the room suddenly fell silent. Caddy didn't pay attention, but someone covered her eyes with their hands. She couldn't even guess who it was, but her heart suddenly ached, and for some reason, she said, "Tom?" He released her eyes and exclaimed, "This is not fair, you knew." Caddy jumped up and threw herself around his neck. Tom had a huge bouquet of white roses in his hands, and he was in uniform. All the women in the cafe were devouring him with their eyes. When the flowers were in the vase, everyone hugged each other and sat down. Tom was stunned, looking at Caddy. "Cat, is that you?" She laughed. "Yes, Tom, what's wrong?" Mom and Dad exchanged glances. Tom sat and realized that in 3 years, while he was gone, the angular girl had turned into a beautiful woman. So beautiful that Tom's heart kept skipping beats. He didn't quite understand what was happening to him, but he understood that it wasn't good. Caddy had been in love with Tom since she was 6 or 7. Only her mother knew about it, as Caddy had shared it with her once. Today she tried to act as natural as possible, to not give herself away. But in reality, she wanted everyone to leave. Tom was still looking at her the same way. He was not just stunned, he was completely knocked out. He kept forgetting what he wanted to say. Things went a little better when they started reminiscing about their childhood. Mom remembered that when Tom brought the stroller, he immediately declared that he would marry Caddy. Everyone laughed, and Tom suddenly blurted out, "Well, Caddy's 18 now. We can get married. Caddy, will you marry me?" And Caddy suddenly became serious. She turned to Tom and said, "I agree to be your wife."